What's up, guys? It's Toad back again with you. I'm going to talk about today's Major League Baseball card, probably briefly today. I mean, there are a lot of playoff scenarios still in play in some of these games, but I don't have any plays right now. I don't like this baseball card at all. I find that sometimes there are just days where I'm just like, yeah, I'm just going to pass. I won yesterday, if you guys were here for that one. The one play I gave out in the morning, I didn't realize it was an afternoon baseball game, actually, and I went to look at the baseball scores. I'm like, oh, this game already was played, and I already won the bet. All right. Wasn't even paying attention, but if I had been, it was no sweat with that win on the under in the Detroit Tigers-Tampa Bay Rays game. Devil Rays. Nobody messes with the Devil Rays. Detroit won that game, by the way, so they are still playing really well. Like I said, I'm not going to actually play any of these games. There are a lot of playoff scenarios here still at play, man. Mets, Braves. I mean, this is probably the biggest game on the board as far as playoff implications. I mean, we got Philadelphia's already in. I don't know if they've clinched the division yet. I know they've clinched a playoff spot. It's getting to the point where they're about to clinch the division if they haven't. Milwaukee's clinched their division already. Not a whole lot to be looking at in those two games, I don't think. Mets, Atlanta, though. Atlanta, I mean, they're up to a huge price here, which is kind of interesting. They're up from minus 160 to minus 178. Pretty big favorite, and they're public. 71% of the tickets, 67% of the cash. Does look like some actual money came in and moved that number up, but I think the Braves are probably overpriced in this game because everybody knows they need to win, and I think they're sitting a half game out of the last wild card spot right now, and the team that's in the last wild card spot is the New York Mets. So this is a huge battle with a lot of implications in this series here, and Atlanta has the guy for the job, you would think, with Chris Sale on the mound. He's probably going to be the NL Cy Young winner, of course, after he's gone from the Boston Red Sox. But the Red Sox did win one World Series with him there at the very least, so I won't complain too much about that. Sale having a great season, obviously, but I think he's overvalued, not just because I think it's just being factored into the line that the Braves need to win this game, but because Chris Sale is on the mound, you're paying the Sale tax. Oh yeah, there we go. Because it is Chris Sale, 2.38 ERA, 1.01 WHIP on the season. But the problem here is he's not that good against the Mets. The Mets have a lot of history against him, 132 at bats worth, and they've done decently against him, at least with 6 home runs, although half of them are from J.D. Martinez. Oh, yeah, the other guy who was on that Red Sox 2018 championship team, you mean, Martinez? Yeah, he and Sale are up against each other in this game. He has dominated Sale in his career, at least home run-wise. Sale does have a 36-6 strikeout walk ratio against them, but he's allowed a 280 average against them and 779 OPS. So his stats are not that Sale-like. They're not as good as you would think up against the Mets hitters there. And David Peterson is pitching for the Mets. I mean, he's not their worst pitcher. 3.08 ERA, but a 1.33 WHIP is pretty ugly. Like, that indicates his ERA should not be that low. He's walking too many guys, putting a lot of guys on base. He's getting out of a lot of jams, but he has been pretty successful against the Atlanta Braves in his career. 99 at bats. They've seen a lot of him. He's given up way too many home runs, 8, but again, half of them are from one guy, Matt Olson. 34-12 strikeout walk ratio is not that good. So Sale is the pitcher that has the much better command overall and against these opposing hitters here. But David Peterson, in that huge sample size, has held the Braves to a 192 batting average and 744 OPS. So maybe there is a little bit of value on playing the Mets in this game. Both teams do need this game, and the pressure, I think, is more on the Braves right now because they're a half game behind the Mets, although the pressure, I guess, could arguably be on both teams. But when it comes down to it, I mean, you're paying a huge price for Chris Sale whenever he's going to be on the mound. So there are opportunities to play him when it's a mismatch. I don't think this is one of them. I don't think that it's a sure thing that Atlanta's definitely going to win this game. Arizona is in the wild card race still as well. I'm just running down. The NL is first on the board. What's up, guys? Johnny, of course it's you again. You're gay, bro, as I keep saying. Watch Tower Gang, and you'll see the cans. So Arizona, and this is an interesting one. Arizona, since they took those first 3 games against the Milwaukee Brewers after the Brewers clinched the division and the Brewers seemed like they kind of took their foot off the gas, the Brewers took the last game of that series in a huge comeback. And that seems to have kind of knocked Arizona off of their game because since then, Arizona hasn't won a game. They've come into the series and lost 2 games against the San Francisco Giants, although I do think it was up against the 2 best Giants pitchers, I think. Did they face Snell? Maybe they didn't face Snell. They did face Logan Webb yesterday. Oh, no, they faced Birdsong, so never mind. They have not faced Snell. So they did face Logan Webb yesterday, who is one of the top San Francisco starters besides Logan Webb. Or besides Blake Snell, Logan Webb is next. Arizona, I mean, they're a huge favorite here. I do think Arizona should be in position to bounce back here, but they're up from minus 195 to minus 212. 75% of the tickets on them, 89% of the cash. So it does look like there is actually some legitimate money coming in on the Arizona side here, but you'll have to lay a huge price for it. Arizona's in the wild card race as well. San Diego is the team that's sitting atop the wild card race, and I believe that I think they've clinched. I'll talk about that in a minute, but San Diego, I'm pretty sure, clinched a playoff spot, so at least a wild card spot, likely the wild card spot. So Arizona is in second place in the wild card right now. They are up above up above the Mets and Atlanta, but I don't think it's by that much. So they do still have reason to play here. San Francisco is just playing out the stretch. Mason Black is a guy that his stats kind of confuse me because his ERA is bad. His whip is not very good, but he does have decent strikeout numbers. So I don't know what to think about Black. And Arizona, I believe, has pretty much never seen Black before. So he does have maybe a little bit of a built-in edge there that these young pitchers have when they're facing hitters who have never seen him before. But then again, this is Arizona, who have a really good hitting lineup. And this is at Arizona, where Arizona is a hitter-friendly park as well, even though Arizona somehow got blanked 10-0 last night. So that might motivate Arizona even a little bit more, just getting blown out embarrassingly last night by San Francisco. Zach Gallen pitching for Arizona. He's one of their better starters, probably the best starter actually in Arizona's rotation. He's got good stats overall, and his numbers against San Francisco are good as well. And because his numbers are just way better than Black's, I think Gallen is the better way to look in this one. His whip is actually too high, still 1.29, even though his 3.74 ERA is good. He does put too many men on base, but against San Francisco, good numbers and a huge 115 at-bat sample size. 35-11 strikeout walk ratio isn't that great, but 217 average and 642 OPS. He has held San Francisco's hitters way down, so that is probably the way that I would lean in that game, would be to the Arizona side, but laying a huge price like that with a team that they're not in must-win territory, though, but I don't know. It still seems like you're laying too much of a price there, so we will see. And yeah, Black, I was just confirming, he has not faced Arizona before, which is true. San Diego Dodgers, and San Diego clinched a playoff spot last night, as I said, and they did it kind of dramatically, not only against the division rival Dodgers here on the road, but they did it on a triple play to end the game, which is not something you see very often. Pretty interesting game. I think it was a 4-2 San Diego win last night, and I think I had mentioned I liked the under in that one, so I think I had that lean correct. This game also looks like it would be an under type of game with Dylan Cease against Jack Flaherty. I mean, you have 2 really good pitchers in this game, of course. This is one of the games where the market does look to be indicating the most strongly on a side, though, with LA down from minus 135 to minus 130. They are public with a 73% of the tickets. Both of these teams don't have as much to play for now because the Dodgers pretty much have the division locked up, even though San Diego still might be trying for it. San Diego just clinched a playoff spot, as I mentioned, so you might see them maybe let up a little bit too. But, I mean, when it's a Padres-Dodgers game, maybe there won't be any let up on either side just because it is a rivalry. 65% of the cash, though, on San Diego, so it does look like the market is indicating on San Diego, and it might be a matchup thing, even though, like I said, the market usually does not tend to factor in the specific matchups that much, but I do. And in this one, whatever the market is doing there kind of agrees with me. I actually agree with the market in this one on the San Diego side, even though they did have that dramatic win last night to clinch a playoff spot. They might still be playing with a little bit of a chip on their shoulder because they are still the team that's behind LA, and LA still might be feeling pretty comfortable with their lead. I don't know what their lead is now. I think it's still pretty substantial, right? Oh, no, it isn't. It's only 2 games. So I'm wrong. Maybe LA will have reason to kind of show up in this game then. So kind of interesting. Maybe both teams would have reason to show up in this game just for that reason because the division is actually still in play. Dylan Cease is pitching for the San Diego Padres. 3.42 ERA, 1.05 whip. Very good numbers on the season. He seemed like he was starting to wear down a little bit with a couple of questionable starts in here, but he's kind of bounced back with a couple of really good starts in a row again, allowing no runs, 6-inning performance against San Francisco right after he had just faced them and not done quite as well. And then an 8 1/3 inning 2-hit shutout against the Houston Astros, which is certainly not easy to do. 2.49 ERA in September, 23-7 strikeout walk ratio. So Cease has been pitching well as of late again after hitting a little bit of a snag there. He is starting to pitch well again. As hard as he throws and as worn down as you might think he is. And against the Dodgers, he has decent numbers as well. 68 at-bats, 28-6 strikeout walk ratio, 235 average, and 738 OPS. So those are not bad pitching stats, against, especially against a tough Dodgers lineup. Meanwhile, the Dodgers have Jack Flaherty pitching, who is an excellent pitcher. A 3.1 ERA, 1.06 whip. He's been one of the best pitchers in Major League Baseball this season. Basically continuing to do so, but a 22-9 strikeout walk ratio. That walk number is a little bit high for my liking. 3.27 ERA in the month of September. Still pretty good. All those numbers in September. He has faced some tough lineups, though. Arizona and Atlanta, both on the road. Cleveland, so it hasn't really been that easy for him. So he's still pitching pretty impressively and limiting the damage. He and Cease, neither of them allow very many runs, which is why you could potentially look to an under. But I actually might prefer the San Diego side just because of this matchup where Flaherty actually has shockingly bad numbers against San Diego. San Diego, 54 at-bat sample size here. San Diego has a 296 batting average off him, and it's not all just damage done by one guy either. It's pretty spread out. 296 average and 934 OPS. So that may be factoring into why the market is signaling on San Diego, or it might just be because San Diego, I don't know, is a little bit of the team that has more momentum right now. I don't quite understand it, to be honest, but that's what's going on there. Seattle is facing Houston here. Seattle's still fighting for a wild card spot, down from -131 to -129. Seattle is a road favorite at Houston, and it's like, I don't know, man. Like, come on. I think I think you got to hold on a little bit here. You're going to line Seattle as a road favorite at Houston. I think you're going a little bit too far with that, even though Seattle does have a bunch of good starters, and George Kirby is one of them. He does have good numbers against Houston. 77% of tickets on Seattle, because I guess the public, in some of these games, the public's just coming in on the better team, like LA. But in this game, I guess it's the factor of that Seattle's pitcher has a better ERA and that Seattle needs to win the game pretty much. So the public coming in on them to the tune of 77%, 92% of the cash. So Seattle is public, but they do look like they have more of the cash, but the line also has come down on them a little bit. I don't know about the side in this one. I mean, I do think that the price on Seattle is too high, even though Kirby's good. He actually has good numbers against Houston. He's been struggling a little bit recently, though, in general. He's had some kind of bad starts recently. I think he was the one that had that one really bad start at home where he allowed like 10 runs. So he has not really been Seattle's best starting pitcher in the last month or so. And you got Yusei Kikuchi pitching for Houston, who I think does okay against Seattle, has decent numbers against them, but Houston is also 9-0 in his starts since they've acquired him via trade from Toronto. So that Kikuchi factor is still there, man. Houston still has not lost a game that he started for them. So, again, it's not something I want to jump in front of there. And I think you might actually be getting value on Houston if you wanted to look to that side there. Looks like the market is signaling a bit on the under in that one. Maybe because of the Kikuchi pitching for Houston factor. He's been better for Houston. But, I mean, both pitchers, I think, do have decent stats against the opposing lineups as well. So I don't hate the under in that one either. By the way, in that Cease Flaherty game, it looks like the market actually has more cash on the over. So I don't know. Maybe, again, because Flaherty actually doesn't pitch that well against San Diego. Baltimore and the New York Yankees. I think Baltimore finally clinched a playoff spot. So likely they're going to get the wild card there. I think they are further back from the Yankees than San Diego is from L.A., if I'm not mistaken, even though Baltimore did win last night. Big win against the rival Yankees to clinch a playoff spot. Likely Baltimore clinched a wild card spot with that win. So Baltimore, could they be in a little bit of a letdown spot after that? Maybe. Even though they are facing the New York Yankees. Yankees up from -142 to -148. 59% of the tickets, 96% of the cash. So it looks like there is a lot of money coming in on the Yankees. But I actually like the under in this one more than anything else. Even though Baltimore, there is the potential that it could be a letdown spot, but I don't know, man. Like I said, when you're playing the Yankees, you're probably still going to show up focused. Zach Eflin is pitching for Baltimore, and he's sneakily still pitching pretty well. He had some good seasons there, I think, for like Philadelphia when he was over there, and he's pitching pretty well this season as well, and he actually has really good numbers against the Yankees as well. Nestor Cortez is pitching for the Yankees. He has good stats this season as well, although I think he hasn't been pitching quite as well recently. He had a good start to the season, but his numbers overall still good. And I think his numbers against Baltimore are actually still pretty good as well, if I'm not mistaken. So this would be a game where I would look towards an under more than anything else. Even though, like I said, I'm not playing any of these games. Yeah, he's held Baltimore to a 206 batting average, 46-8 strikeout walk ratio. And Zach Eflin has held the Yankees to a low average as well, 246. Not bad either. Only 50-16 strikeout walk ratio, though. So he's walked more guys, even though I think he's a guy that doesn't walk that many guys in general. Totals down from 8 to 7.5 juice to the over. 64% of tickets on the over. 67% of the cash on the under. So I like the under in that one. Johnny, I'm not going to be on Tower Gang tonight, but you should watch it because it is going to be a good episode with a good guest, assuming that he's going to show up. Don't cry, brother. Don't be a little bitch. Watch Tower Game tonight. Boston, Toronto. I mean, Boston, they keep winning. You know, going back to when I said the Red Sox needed to win every game left on the schedule to make the wild card, which I believe is still the case. They have 4 games left, and I think they need to win all of them to have any wild card hope. And they need Minnesota, Kansas City, Detroit to lose some games. It's not a good spot for Boston, but they do keep winning. And they have Richard Fitz on the mound, Dick Fitz, but maybe he'll be in line for a little bit of a letdown here. But the market, this is the other game besides the San Diego one where the market looks like it is signaling kind of strongly on the Boston side here, on a side. Toronto's down from -135 to -133, 56% of tickets on them because public probably knows Gausman more, so they'll just come in on Gausman, even though he's basically just a decent pitcher. Richard Fitz on the other side, Dick Fitz for the Red Sox. 63% of the cash looks like it's on the Red Sox side. Fitz, as we said, he's made 3 starts in his major league career. I think he's gone exactly 5 innings or maybe just over 5 in every one of those games, but he allowed no runs in any of them, and he's the first Red Sox pitcher to ever do that in their first 3 starts, to go 5+ innings in each of them, allowing no runs. So Fitz is off to a good start. He's got a 0 ERA, and Toronto, I believe, has never faced him before. So Fitz pitching pretty well to start out his career, and he's facing a lineup that hasn't seen him before. So he should have a bit of an edge there, which might be factoring into what's going on in the market here. Kevin Gausman, though, doesn't have numbers that are that bad against the Red Sox either. And he's been pitching pretty well, but he is off of a game where I think I either played him or I guess I played the under. I think I played the under in this game. It was Gausman against Bradford, I think, and I got the under. Gausman had a no-hitter in that game through 5 innings, only 58 pitches, and they took him out. Why? I mean, he was throwing over 100 pitches in almost every start. He's a veteran. He's used to throwing tons of pitches in these games, and for some reason he got taken out of that game. 58 pitches in. He was pitching really efficiently and throwing a no-hitter, and he got the hook. I don't understand that. You'd think that they, especially a veteran like him, they would have let him go for it. So that is kind of wild to me. So I don't know what's going on with Gausman there, but against Boston, 31-5 strikeout walk ratio and 83 at bats. 241 average, little bit higher, 742 OPS because he's allowed a bunch of home runs to them, 4 home runs to them. But Gausman still has decent numbers against Boston. So do what you will with that information. But the line does look like it's indicating on Boston. And then what else we got? Kansas City needs to continue winning. Of course, they did win last night. They got a good start from Cole Reagans, but Kansas City's offense basically was non-existent and did not do well against Mitchell Parker, the rookies. That was a game where I said potentially maybe there was an underlean in that one because it was Reagans, the ace, up against Mitchell Parker, who had never been seen before by Kansas City. But I liked the Kansas City side better in that one. It was just, I didn't want to jump in front of that train where Kansas City had lost 7 or 8 games in a row. But they were able to break it, even though it took extra innings to do it because they couldn't score at all in the game. They still wound up winning the game. So Kansas City's still right in the thick of that wild card race. And they're again a road favorite, although not as heavily as they were yesterday, up against a bad Washington team. Michael Lorenzen is pitching for Kansas City. He's coming back from the DL, so he got traded over from Texas, and then I think he got injured in late August or something, and now he's coming back. He's been okay this season, but you're paying a little bit of a price on the road here, down to minus 115 from minus 120, though, for Kansas City. They're public, 77% of tickets, 79% of the cash on Kansas City, so it looks like a little bit more of the cash, but the line is dropped on them, so I actually think there is maybe reverse line movement on Kansas City, and I would not want to play on them being this public. Even though Lorenzen, I mean, he is a veteran at this point. He is coming off the disabled list, like I said, or the injured list, so that is the type of spot where you'd want to look to play on a guy, and he had a couple of good starts in a row before getting injured there. It looks like he went down in the middle of that Cleveland game, where he did not go many innings in that one. So I don't know if there's that much to really take away from the fact that he shut Cleveland out for an inning and 2/3 or whatever. Up against Washington, they haven't not seen that much of him. Only 14 at-bats, only 5 hitters on their team have seen him before, and one of them is a pitcher, Trevor Williams here, so you can kind of toss him out of the equation too. So only 4 of their hitters have seen him. He's held them to a 214 batting average if you include Williams. 639 OPS, but without him, it's not much of a difference. So Lorenzen may have a little bit of an edge there for that reason. So I'm not saying that you should not lean to the Kansas City side here because Hers, the pitcher for Washington, is, I think, less trustworthy with a decently high ERA, and his whip isn't that great either, 4.30 and 1.27 respectively. He allowed 7 runs, excuse me, in his most recent outing against the Mets, and he only went 5 innings in the previous 2. He's not going deep into games, so these starts overall don't really look that great. 15-7 strikeout walk ratio, 5.4 ERA this month doesn't look very good. But Kansas City has never seen Hers before, so he is a young pitcher who is unfamiliar to Kansas City, so does that mean he'll have an edge because of that? I don't know. You could look to an under potentially here. It looks like it's gone down from 8 juice to the under to 7.5 juice to the over, 75% of tickets on the over, and only 62% of the cash on the over. So I would probably actually prefer the under to the side in this one, but I really don't totally trust either pitcher, really, but especially Hers. I don't trust him. So I do think Lorenzen actually might have a little bit of a starting pitching edge there, but I would not want to lay a price like that on the road with a team that needs to win like Kansas City, where the pressure is on. And the pressure is on Minnesota, too. They got Simeon Woods Richardson on the mound. They are facing a very weak Miami team. Minnesota's up from minus 170 to minus 187, but heavily public. 91% of the tickets, 93% of the cash. Does look like some legitimate money has come in on the Minnesota side, but they're so public. I don't think there's value in playing Minnesota here, man. Edward Cabrera pitching from Miami. He's a guy that has good stuff, and he strikes out a lot of guys, but he's the typical like hard-throwing, wild young pitcher who really just hasn't gotten it under control, and he just puts too many men on base. But he's not really that bad. Like, he does have glimpses of being a really good pitcher, but again, he's coming off a bad outing after he had 2 good outings in a row where he didn't allow any runs. He actually had a few pretty good outings in a row, and then he got rocked by the Dodgers and walked a ton of guys in that game, put a ton of guys on base in that game, 9 2 1/3. So coming off a really bad start, but he may be able to bounce back, and Minnesota only has 2 hitters who have ever seen him before, 1 for 6 off him with 1 strikeout. So there's not much and no extra base hits. Not a whole lot that you can gather from that small sample size. It does mean Minnesota's hitters mostly are unfamiliar with Cabrera. And when you got a guy that comes in and throws hard like that, that could be a little bit of a disadvantage for the hitters, man. So that might be the case there. And then Simeon Woods Richardson is pitching for the Twins. I mean, he was off to having a good season in his first full season in the majors, but he has really kind of fallen off recently. I think just the fact that he's pitched the full season has kind of caught up with him and taxed him, even though he's not as hard a thrower. I thought he would be able to last the full season, but his numbers have been going up and up. His ERA is up to 4, his whip up to 1.25. So I don't trust him. In his recent form, he's been awful. He hasn't got 5 innings in any of his last 5 starts. So he's not a guy that I would put trust in right now. So you might get something like more of the same, or at best, he's probably going to be able to limit the damage. But he is facing a weak Miami offense, and they have also never seen him before. So there are reasons to think that he may have a little bit of an advantage here. I think that the under is actually the better play than the side here. Minnesota, the pressure's mounting on them, fighting for a wild card spot, of course. Total down from 8 juice to the over to 8 juice, a little bit less to the over. 86% of the tickets, but only 55% of the cash on the over in that one. That is the rundown for the Major League Baseball slate today. I have no official plays. I'll be back with football videos. I will be missing Tower Gang tonight. What's up, Pistolero? Yeah, you should have bet on Jeremy Kaufman. Assuming he's going to show up. I mean, I think he will. Hopefully he will. He's been doing a lot of guest appearances recently, so we're striking while the iron is hot, baby. We should have Jeremy Kaufman on Tower Gang tonight. Either way, go check it out. Should be a good episode. I'm Tower Gang Toad, of course. Follow me on Twitter. Follow the Tower Gang podcast. It is extremely hilarious. And like Pistolero said, we have a good show lined up for tonight, even though it won't feature me, as I will be out tonight. Sign up for the Patreon, patreon.com/TowerGang. You get live bonus content, post-show, pre-show. Post-show may have Jeremy Kaufman hanging around tonight. We will see. Who knows? And I think that's going to do it, man. And you get to hang out with us in a Telegram, even though it's no longer a private app. Have a good one, man. I gotta peace out here. Peace out, everyone. Have a good day. Have a good day and have a good night.